After the antennae, let us move on to the mouth parts of the cockroach. Now, the mouth parts of the cockroach include four different movable parts. First was the labrum. Let us talk about the labrum first. Labrum is present just beneath the clypeus, and labrum is a movable structure. The different parts or structures that are present on the labrum are: first there are these muscles. These are going to help the attachment of the labrum with the clypeus. Next part is the depression that is present on the inner side of the labrum, and this depression is called epipharynx. And another hair-like structures are present at the border of the labrum, and these structures are called bristles. And the function of the epipharynx as well as the bristles is to house different gustatory receptors. So the epipharynx on the labrum as well as the bristles, they have various gustatory receptors, and they're going to help in tasting the food. What else is the function of the labrum? The labrum, first of all, we can say that it helps to taste the food, and the labrum also helps to hold on to the food. Another function of the labrum is to form the roof of the mouth. So the upper part of the mouth is guarded by the labrum. The next mouth part after the labrum is the mandible, and the mandibles are paired. Where are these mandibles present? These mandibles are present behind the labrum, and they are attached to the gena. Gena was a structure or a chitinous plate that was present on the lateral side of the head. Now let us look at the structure of the mandibles. The mandibles are heavily chitinized structure. So if this is the mouth of the cockroach, the mandibles are present to the left side and the right side of the mouth. Now in this structure of the mandible, we can see these sharp projections. These sharp projections are called the teeth, and these are heavily chitinized, so they have a lot of chitin in them. There is an area on the mandibles that has lesser amount of chitin, which is present towards the mouth. This area is called prosotheca. And the function of prosotheca, again, it bears taste receptors. Prosotheca will also help in tasting of the food. To attach to the gena, the mandibles have two different types of muscles. The first muscles which are present towards the mouth, they are called the adductor muscles, and the ones which are present outside the mouth or towards the outside, they are called the abductor muscles. Now, what is the function of both these muscles? They are going to help in biting the food. So these teeth, they are going to help in mastication. How will these teeth be moved? These teeth will be moved with the help of adductors and abductors. These muscles, they move on the horizontal plane like this, in this direction, and then towards the outer side. So they will move along the horizontal plane to bite and to break down the food. So the functions of the mandibles, one is mastication of food, and the second function is tasting the food. After the mandibles, the next pair of mouthparts are called maxillae. And as we had pointed out before, maxillae are paired, and they are also sometimes called first maxillae. Now, the maxillae as well as the labium, they have a bit of a complicated structure. So let me first discuss that. The complication in their structure is that they are further segmented into different parts. These different parts are named according to their position relative to the mouth. So if this is the mouth, the part from which the other two parts will arise will be called Protopodite. This is the basal part. Now this Protopodite can further have segmentation, and these segmentations are called cardo and stipes. Okay. Now from this Protopodite, two branches will emerge. These two branches are the one towards the mouth on the inner side is called the endopodite, whereas the one towards the outer side of the mouth will be called the exopodite. So the outer one is exopodite and the inner one is called endopodite. And endopodite as well as the exopodite, they further have different segments present. Okay, so the maxillae and the labium, they are divided into different segments, and these segments are named according to their positions relative to the mouth. The protopodite will be the basal part. From the protopodite, endopodite will arise, which will be present towards the inner side of the mouth, and an exopodite will arise, which will be present towards the outer side of the mouth. So if now this is clear, let us continue with the structure of maxillae. Now for the structure of maxillae, the first part or the protopodite is formed of two segments. The first segment is called cardo, and from the cardo, longitudinal stipe arises. Okay, so this one is cardo, and this one which is perpendicular to the cardo is stipe, and these two form the protopodite. From the stipe towards the outer side, the first segment of the exopodite will arise, and this segment is called palpifur, and from the palpifur 5 more segments are going to arise, and each of these segments will make up the maxillary palps. So this one is the palpifur, remember the fur, and these 5 segments, these together form the maxillary palps. And on these maxillary palps, again, tiny bristles are present, and these tiny bristles, they are going to help in gustation. So they have gustatory receptors on them. And these two, they form the exopodite. Now let's talk about the endopodite of the first maxillae. The endopodite is divided into 2 parts. The part towards the mouth is called lacina. It is a leaf-like structure. This one. And the part in between the exopodite and lacina is called glossa. So this is lacina. And lacina, as we can see, bears claws. And this one is galea. And these 3 together form the endopodite. So we have 3 parts of the first maxilla: protopodite, exopodite, and endopodite. And they have further segmentations. Now, what is the function of maxilla? The function of maxilla is to taste the food that the cockroach is eating. Another function is that it helps to hold the food when the cockroach is masticating, and while it is holding the food, it will push the food towards the mandibles. Okay, and the maxillae also help to clean the antennae as well as the prolegs. So it cleans also, it holds on to the food also, and it also helps to taste the food. After the first maxillae, let us talk about the last mouthparts that are present on the cockroach. And the last mouthpart is the labium. And the labium is also called the lower lip. Now, just as the maxillae had a complex structure, so do the labium. There will be protopodite, endopodite, and exopodite. But the protopodite and labium are fused together. Hence, we say that the labium is partially paired. Let us look at the structure of the labium now. The labium articulates with the head capsule with the help of a structure called submentum. Below the submentum, a structure called mentum is present, and the submentum and the mentum together form postmentum. And this postmentum represents fused cardo. So, some point during the development of the labium of the cockroach, the cardo were separated. But as the cockroach matures, the cardo join together to form postmentum, and the postmentum comprises of submentum. This will articulate with the head capsule, and a mentum. Just below the mentum, another structure is present, and this structure is called prementum. So there is postmentum and prementum, and this prementum represents fused stipes. Okay, and now because there's fused cardo and fused stipe, the postmentum and the prementum, they are going to make up the protopodite. Okay, so protopodite is made up of postmentum and prementum. Now from this prementum, the endopodite and the exopodite will arise. The exopodite in the case of prementum is made up of palpiger, and from the palpiger arise three segments which will make up the labial palp. This is palpiger. The maxillae had palpifur, whereas the labium has palpiger. And these three segments, they will make up the labial palps. And these labial palps again will have tiny bristles, and these bristles are going to help in tasting the food. So this was the endopodite. These two form the exopodite. Now above the endopodite will be present towards the mouth. The endopodite in case of labium comprises of glossa, which is present on the inner side. This is glossa, and an outer paraglossa. And the paraglossa also has bristles. So this one is glossa, and the outer one is paraglossa. And this whole structure together is called ligula, whereas the glossa and the paraglossa will make up the endopodite. The endopodites, glossa and paraglossa, what they do is they check the loss of food particles from the mandibles as the cockroach is chewing the food, and they also help to push the food towards the mouth for mastication. And the exopodite, these ones, they have bristles. So these bristles will carry the taste receptors or the gustatory receptors, so they will help in tasting the food. So this was all about the different mouth parts and the different appendages that are present on the head of the cockroach. The mouth parts comprise of labium, the maxillae, the mandibles, and the labrum.